Good afternoon, and welcome to a special live edition of Concerts with Causes, Mission Military. My name is Edward McCarver, and you know, as America gets set to celebrate her 239th birthday, why not have a real American hero as our special guest? His name is Stephen Cochran. Just read a little bio about you, Steve,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Before we chat here. Stephen Cochran is an American country music singer and songwriter, best known for his 2007 single, Friday Night Fireside. He was born in Kentucky and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. Cochran developed an interest in music in high school and later on at Western Kentucky University. He also had a developmental deal with Epic Records. Then 9/11 happened. Stephen joined the Marine Corps and served his country as a combat Marine in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was a member of the 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. Cochran was severely injured during a combat patrol and was told he would never walk again. Surgeons at the Nashville VA Medical Center performed a procedure called chiroplasty, and he regained the use of his legs. He is in our area promoting the Fisher House and the Soldiers Angels Crusade.
Yes, sir.
Stephen, welcome here.
Thank you so much,
You sound
Ed.
like you have your guitar eager to play. You want to start us with a song?
I do have a guitar. It's right here in my hand, so I'd like to play a song for you if you don't mind. You know, we are here supporting Fisher House and Concerts with Causes, and you know, one of the biggest things that we're facing as Veterans Day is the epidemic of 22 veterans committing suicide every day. And so every time that I get in front of a camera or have a stage or an opportunity, I want to talk about that. And we'll talk about it more later, but this song is one I kind of wrote to hopefully help the civilian population understand what it's like when you do come back home. And it's called Keep On. So it's a new one. It's not on my new album. I actually just wrote it. So I'm sharing it with you guys here, and it's a little special treat. So I hope you like it. It's called Keep On. I know who I was. That's not who I am. I know how I got here. This was not my plan, so I keep on lying to myself. Y'all see me hurting, love me just the same. I'm not the same person, but I answer to my name, and I keep on lying to myself. I keep lying, but don't you see that I'm not the man you thought I was, but I was not supposed to be who I am. So just understand, this is me, and I can't stop lying to myself. Made more promises than I can never keep. Well, I don't know why, but I still got these rings and I keep on lying to myself. I guess I do lonely more than I do not. I kill my pain at closing time with one more shot, and I keep on lying to myself. I keep lying, but don't you see that I'm not the man you thought I was, but I was not supposed to be who I am. So just understand, this is me. Well, they've taken me for granted, and now I'm on my own. Well, they said that I'd come back, but this is not my home. I just had a string broke, so I think that's as far as we're going to get to the song. But we'll get that fixed later on.
The beauty of live television.
Yes, it is.
And you can fix that string while Can you
Well, yeah, it's
chat and
I can
fix the string?
I don't think so. I've never tried, but I'll try to get it fixed for us soon.
We're here with Stephen Cochran, singer, songwriter. You wrote that. How long did it take to write that?
You know, it's different with each song. That song is one that I've been working on for a long time. It's something that was inside of me that I wanted to get out, but I wanted to make sure that not just myself, the other veterans who live this life, who live with post-traumatic stress or injuries every day, I wanted to make sure it's something that they put their seal of approval on. I also wanted to make sure that I wrote it, enough to where civilians could understand, okay, that makes sense. I understand that now. And, it is. You come back and you look the same. You still answer to the same name, but you're not the same person. And you're never going to be. And it seems like that should be accepted more to me, because you wouldn't expect anyone to go over and do the things for such a long period of time that we have to do to protect this country and then come home and not have problems with it. To me, it makes more sense to think, man, I've had to do, I've literally had to, to do horrible things. And, we would like to think of ourselves as a warrior society, but we're not. We're not a warrior society. We're a superpower.
The macho image.
Right, I'm saying, but they
yeah.
don't understand when you talk about warrior societies, you're talking about the Spartans. You're talking about the Afghan culture, which can be traced back to the Mongolians. I mean, these people have been fighting for thousands and thousands of years. Now, we take our boys and girls who grow up with air conditioning, cable television, cars, and we give them 3 months of training at the most. And then we send them overseas and we say, go do everything that these warrior societies are doing. Do them better with one arm tied behind your back, called the Geneva Convention, because we're the only ones in this war that go by that. And then come home and not have problems with it. That doesn't even make sense when I say it. So thinking that it's going to make sense in the application to a veteran it's.
Do you feel that passion when you sing a song like that? I mean, obviously you can see the passion in your voice and
it's
the song.
It took me a long time, Ed, to be able to realize that I could use songwriting as therapy. And to the point to where I went down the suicide road myself as far as you can go without ever being able to come back. And from that, I learned how to use songwriting as therapy.
We're going to talk a little bit about your story a little later on in the hour, but we want to talk a little bit about, you're actually in the area performing for the Fisher House in West Haven and Soldiers Angels. Could you, and are you fixing your string?
I'm not. I can't. I don't really think I can do that.
Can you perform?
I don't think we're done on that.
Oh,
yeah, because I'm going to have to, I don't think anybody over there knows how to string a guitar. It's kind of a little bit of a process. And then I've got to tune it, and it's got to stay in tune.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell us a little bit about the organizations that you're helping during your Connecticut project, as you call it, the Fisher House in West Haven and also the Soldiers Angels, which I guess is part of the Fisher House organization?
Right, yeah, they all work together, and that's something that I really love to see is other veteran organizations working with other veteran organizations to make a big, dent in these causes. I mean, you're starting to see it more. At the beginning, I think when we first came back from Iraq and Afghanistan, you started seeing all these 501c3 pops up, for veterans causes, but they didn't want to work with each other. They wanted to put their name on everything, and there's still some major ones out there that are like that. But what we are seeing is, the good ones are joining together because they realize that the mission is about the veterans. It's not about, let's get our name on television, let's make our brand. What is a brand name if you're not completing your mission? And so Fisher House is something that is probably one of the closest 501c3s to me. My mother stayed in the Fisher House while I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital in Bethesda for a while.
So it was also for soldiers, but also families.
It is.
Families
It's actually
soldiers.
for the families. That's really what Fisher
okay.
House is for. So it's either or. Sometimes it's all together. The veteran will stay in the Fisher House with his family, so that they can be together. But for me, my mother was driving from Kentucky all the way into Bethesda, Maryland, and so to get the pay for the hotel rooms would have been for 6 months, and then losing work on top of it.
Couldn't be done.
Couldn't be done. Yes.
Who is eligible to stay at Fisher House, and how is it arranged to stay there? You kind of touched on it a little bit. With
Right.
The,
Well, again, you needed to contact FisherHouse.com, and here it's Fisher House. Connecticut.com. My goal is I would like to see a Fisher House in every state, because you know when the veteran comes home, he's at a hospital. It's not, you know, God bless them for the work they do, but it doesn't feel homey. And this way, the families get to stay with them. They can contact any of their local Fisher House if you have one in your area. Tell them your situation, they put you on a list.
I think in doing research for this, I thought I saw, are there, is it 57 Fisher houses?
57 now,
57,
and then hopefully
okay.
Connecticut will be the 58th.
Okay.
And I know that they're working in Massachusetts as well. I broke ground on one in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm from, where I live now, and it's at the Murfreesboro VA right outside. And so it's been up for 2 years, and it's just changed the lives of the veterans who are there. Because again, you know, Nashville is a city where not most of the veterans are from Nashville. They come there chasing the same dream that I did. And so if they get injured, or if their injuries from combat or their post-traumatic stress acts up, it's a place to where their family can come from wherever they're at and stay with them there.
Okay. And what are some of the qualifications to stay at Fisher House?
I know that you have to, I believe it's 50% disabled or higher. Normally you have to be hospitalized, and then they look at your family. If you have, you know, children and stuff like that, they want to make sure that they keep you close together. So I know that if you go, like I said, to fisherhouse.com or fisherhouseconnecticut.com, it'll let you know all the qualifications right there.
Okay. We're talking with Stephen Cochran. Stephen Cochran, part of the Connecticut project here at Concerts with Causes and T's Promotional Entertainment.
Right.
In charge of bringing you to our fair state. How do you like Connecticut so far?
I love Connecticut. I've actually got, and I'll tell you, I believe everything happens for a reason. So it's every time that I come, I've been here twice, but I say every time, both times I've been here, amazing things have happened. The first night I did a little acoustic set at the O'Brien's Pub. And, you know, one would say, hey, why did that happen? The way I look at it, everything happens for a reason. So while I'm sitting there playing, which is where I met you, came over.
Yes.
And hung out. And so while I'm sitting there playing, it's brought to my attention that the owner's wife has a son who's currently serving the Marine Corps. So, you know, the Marine Corps is a very small military branch, but even small, there's a million of us, usually 250,000 to a million Marines serving at once. So you don't, you know, we always laugh, you know, someone will come up and say, hey, my cousin's a Marine, his name's Tom, do you know him? And you're like, yeah, I know Tom.
Yeah.
But this night, it was one of those moments where it was meant to be. The wife's son is serving on the 24th MEU. I was on the 22nd MEU, but he's serving with 2nd LAR, Bravo Company, 3rd Platoon, as a recon scout, which is my exact job, platoon, company, and battalion.
So what are the chances?
1 in a million, literally 1 in a million.
If one were interested in donating to the Fisher House, you mentioned the website. If someone was interested, you know, hearing about the project in West Haven, what could they do?
Well, you can go to concertswithcauses.org, or you can also go to soldiersangels.org. And like I said, they've all teamed up together to really try to put a dent in veterans' homelessness. And Concerts with Causes is not just an only veteran, you know, it's Concerts with Causes. So there's multiple causes they touch on, you know, from cancer research all the way into, you know, veterans causes. But Soldiers Angels, they have such a multitude of things that they can offer to the veterans. So I really, really urge everybody to go on to soldiersangels.org and check out what they can offer. Well, one of the biggest things I always tell people is to definitely, when you're donating to a veteran cause or to go on, there is a website for 501c3s, and they rate them. They rate them from A's to D's to F's. And some of the larger ones that you might see on your television all the time may not be the ones that are the best. So you want to go look at their ratings, because just because they're spending a lot of money on commercials, well, then you got to ask yourself, if you're spending a lot of money on commercials, how much of that money that we're giving is going back to the veterans?
It's not going to the cause.
Right.
Okay. Is there a lot of?
There's a lot. I'll tell you, there's probably more crooked veteran organizations out there of people making money off of veterans and what they've done than I've seen. I mean, it's rampant right now. And you got to think about this. An organization raises $60 million. We'll do some simple math here. $60 million in 1 year. That's what they raised. There are only 27 million veterans in the United States of America. They literally could have given every veteran $2 million. Oh, wow. But where's the money going? Yep. Well, I'll give you a hint. Hi, I'm Trace Atkins, and you can...
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. I want to talk a little bit about your story, because you are an American hero, and I think your story is just awesome. I told Lisa when she contacted me about this, it actually is a privilege to be sitting here talking to you for the work that you've done. But you have a musical background. You were born in Kentucky, moved to Nashville. You were studying at Western Kentucky University and working on a deal with Epic Records. And then that day that I don't think any of us will ever forget, September 11th, 2001, happened, and your life took a different turn. Just tell us about your memories of, not after September 11th, that day, how you heard about it, what your first recollection was that this day was going to be unlike any other day in your life.
You know, I don't think if I tried, I could forget that day. It's the day that forever changed my life. Up to that point, I had to be in class by noon, and I was writing songs and playing lacrosse and living the dream, you know, the college dream. It's the day I grew up. It's the moment that I realized we're not invincible against outside odds here on our land. You know, I would compare it to probably, you know, the way they felt when Japan, you know, attacked Pearl Harbor. I was in court with a buddy of mine who had a traffic ticket. I know I was starting off. I was in court. I wasn't in court. I was there as a just to support, right?
Okay.
So we're in court, and we noticed that the bailiffs all started coming in with their pistols on, and they cleared the courtroom, and they were clearing the courthouse. And as we were walking out, there was a lady behind the front desk, and she said, "Oh my God, they're jumping." And I said, "Ma'am, what is going on?" And she said, "Honey, go home. We're under attack." And I think the whole drive, you know, back to my college dorm room, I'm just trying to figure out what, I mean, we're listening to the radio, but what does "we're under attack" mean? And yeah, I think my decision was made right from those words.
So you came home, you went to the dorm, and is that when you first saw the television images?
Well, I got really drunk. I'm being honest, me and a couple of my buddies, again, the weight of that, I think, and the weight of the decisions that I think I knew even at that point that I had to make. This is the only country where you can take a dream and make it your career. I was taking my dad's dream and making it my career. That's a family business of dreams. And so any country that allows us to do that, you've got to stand up and fight for it when they need you to. You know, my dad served, both my grandfathers served. My grandpa served 28 years in the Air Force. And so patriotism was driven into me. And so yeah, we made the decision that we were going to enlist in the military the next day. Like I said, I wish, you know, most people who become Marines have strived to be a Marine their whole life. And that wasn't the truth with me. I wanted to be a country singer. I wanted to be a songwriter.
The military was, outside of your family's influence on it, was kind of like
right.
way in the back burner.
Oh, it wasn't even in the top
on the stove.
10. Top 10 careers. Garbage Man, I think, was in there before the military was. But at a young age, at 13, 12, when Desert Storm was going on. And I didn't remember this, but when I enlisted, after my mom got over crying and hitting me, she said, "Well, you told me this at 12 years old." I told her when I was 12, I said, "Mommy, I'm going to fight over there." And I pointed at Desert Storm. And she said, "Honey, this will all be over with by the time that you're old enough to fight over there." Wow. Well, it wasn't. Wow. So, and I was one of the first platoons to enter the country. Actually, one of the second vehicle to enter the country. So we had a tank and then us. And
how soon? You said it was the day was it September 12th?
Oh yeah, September 12th I enlisted. And you know, then I had to break the news to a fiance and my parents and you know, my lacrosse team. I'd just been named the lacrosse captain of Western Kentucky University for the next coming season.
And you had to deal with Epic Records.
You know, and I think even in the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping that when I went in to enlist, they'd say, "Son, you've got a record deal. You can't do that. You'll be a big star." But you know what? I think after I signed the papers, I realized if they're going to take Elvis Presley, they're going to take me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was as soon as we signed the papers, and I went home and just kind of nonchalantly told my family, "Oh, I leave for boot camp in 3 months." And so I got, you know, through boot camp, got to ITB, Infantry Training Battalion, got out of there, got to my unit, and we were supposed to have several months to work up before we were ever sent anywhere. And this was a series of things that I learned that the Marine Corps doesn't always tell you the truth. And so we got there, and then it was basically Rodriguez, Blue 1, Cochran, Blue 2, you know, and they just divided us up among teams, and they sent us home to be with our families, and then we went right back and headed to Kuwait.
Wow.
I mean, it was literally 9 months. No, not even. It was probably 6 months maybe of total training that I'd had, from college kid to front lines invading Iraq. And so that's why I say, you know, we're not warrior societies. You know, believe me, I was there. I was sitting on the ground when they started firing at us for the first time. And I would love to tell everybody that I did some Rambo. I didn't. I was scared to death. And, you know, I'm a kid. And now I'm realizing this isn't war games anymore. We're not playing pop, pop, bang, bang, you're dead. They're trying to kill me.
When you see films, and we're getting a little bit off the subject now,
Yeah,
but when
sorry.
you see films like Full Metal Jacket, which I assume you've seen,
I get to meet Lee Ermey, who's a Marine as well.
Sergeant Hartman. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yeah, he's a you know, and he's a real Marine. He was actually a drill instructor, and so the funny thing about that, he actually tells a story, is that he went down and had a bar down when they were filming Apocalypse Now, and that's how he got into the film business. And when yes sir, they hired him as a consultant. He wasn't even supposed to be in the film for Full Metal. He was supposed to be a consultant, and he went back to the directors and he said, "There's some things you can teach, but being a Marine drill instructor is not one of them." And so when they gave him the part to be that drill instructor, he read over the lines and threw out most of the lines. Everything that he said as the drill instructor in there, from golf ball and garden hose and all that, he really used as a drill instructor at Paris Island.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Maybe he ad-libbed the...
He did. They said that it was all off the top of his brain.
We're talking with Stephen Cochran, country singer, and we hope to have more music, but we had a technical difficulty. We had a broken guitar string, but I hear something in the background.
I think they're tuning it. That sounds awesome.
Somebody's,
I appreciate it back
so
there.
you may be able to...
Right.
Our crack staff here at
Yeah, exactly.
WPAA.
Yeah, multi-talented.
They do it all, yes. Peter and
Multi-talented.
Bruce and everybody.
And see, they didn't even notice that I just had a guitar one moment, and then they panned out, and it was
Yes.
gone.
Yes, they did. But Stephen Cochran is performing in the area, raising money for the Fisher House in West Haven, and also Soldiers Angels. So you're fighting, serving your country in Iraq, and in Afghanistan, you were severely injured in Afghanistan, so much so that you were told that you would never walk again. If you can, do you remember how you felt at that time of your life? If you can talk about it.
No, I definitely. The problem is that I also had a TBI when I was injured. So a lot of the memory of even the day that it happened, a traumatic brain injury. My head actually bounced as my back. You know, the sappy plate saved my spine basically, but my head, I didn't have a Kevlar on, so it kind of bounced off the outside of the hull of the vehicle as well. But they were worried about fixing my back, and and obviously that was the main injury, so they needed to go after that, but. It was I don't know really what the feeling was. My mom says that she remembers them bringing me out of an induced coma to tell me, and she said I just kind of laughed and said, "No, man, I'm gonna walk again," and went back to sleep.
Really?
And so I don't know if that was just Freudian of me, or if it was just me being a cocky Marine or whatever it was, but I don't think I ever bought into it.
Do we have the best staff?
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Let's hear it for the crack staff here at WPAA. So
it's back.
So you need to tune it up.
I just need my capo. There it is.
Does our staff have a cable? Oh, it's in the.
There it is.
I'm 65 years old. I never knew what a cable was.
See, there you go. We learn something every day.
Something.
I always say we stop learning, we start dying.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much, man. See, this is live music. This is how it happens on the road.
By a brilliant staff here.
Pretty awesome.
While you're tuning up, and before, and we'll take a musical break here, I noticed your guitar is autographed.
It is.
Can you explain?
I always say this is my version, or my Trigger. Trigger is Willie Nelson's guitar. And he's had it, everybody's on there from Ray Price to Johnny Cash. He's got signatures on there. And you kind of see that around Nashville, or you'll see some artists have signatures on their guitars of their favorite guitar player or their favorite singer-songwriter. These are all veterans' names. There's not a person on my guitar that hasn't served, and we've lost 12 on this guitar, and 2 suicide. So that's the thing, is that I get to put this on every day and go on stage and live my dream. But I realize why I have the opportunity to live it, because I'm holding. I've Had it 10 years. I've had it. This was supposed to be my signature series guitar with Washburn when we were sponsored with them back in the day, and I've just held on to it, and I wrote every song but 3 on the new album on this guitar.
Wow.
Yes, sir. And so it's my baby. I named it after my nephew. It's Little Rick.
Little Rick?
Yeah, and then my electric guitar is the Chick. Little Rick and the Chick.
Little Rick and the Chick.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, if Little Rick is
I think so.
ready, can we let's have another song?
I'm going to try to get through this one. This is another new one that we wrote. I wrote it with a guy named Sal Gonzalez and Daniel Dean. Daniel Dean is a Marine Corps sniper. 3 tours to Iraq, and he was on the TV show Ultimate Survival Alaska. So if you've seen that show, he was the sniper on the team this past season. Sal Gonzalez is a Marine Corps machine gunner. He lost his leg in Iraq in an IED explosion, and he was on America's Got Talent. And so Sal and I go back the farthest. It's kind of a great story. We have a thing in the Marine Corps called esprit de corps. And it's basically, if you fly, it goes all the way, if you fly a Marine Corps flag in your front yard, and there's a Marine driving down the road that needs a place to stay, and he can prove to you that he's a Marine, you have to give him a place to stay for the night. The same thing goes in business. We always joke about the Marine Corps being the largest fraternity in the world, because if, say you're a Marine and a Marine wants to be an interviewer or have his own television show, you have to help him understand and navigate the trials of that. And so I was doing a radio in Nashville for my first single, Friday Night Fireside, and they get a phone call that calls in, and it's this, they come and they said, oh, there's some crazy Marine on the phone saying something about you have to help him be a songwriter. And I was like, well, get his number. And they said, you're really going to call this guy? And I said, and that's when I had to explain to them what esprit de corps is. That was 10 years ago. And I can't say I've helped him much, but I've tried in every way I can. And we wrote this song, and it gets up there, so it's going to be a little rough, but it's called Whiskey on the Ground. One of my best friends that I grew up with was a Navy SEAL as well. We enlisted about the same time, went to college together. And he committed suicide a year ago, almost today. And so Daniel Dean, one of the writers of the song, his cousin was served in the Army, did so many missions, lost I think 22 of his fellow brothers in combat or something like that. And he came home and he committed suicide 3 weeks ago. And so we sat down and wrote this song in honor of them, because, you know, a lot of people don't want to talk about the self-medication or the misappropriation of medication. You know, that's even a bigger one. But adrenaline is one of the, I guess adrenaline is there's no drug that matches the adrenaline of fighting in combat. And sometimes they come home and they try to chase something that will, and a lot of it's bad drugs. And you know, when they did Matt's toxicology report, it wasn't as clean as, you know, as you would think. And so a lot of people don't talk about it because they think that it downplays what a hero he was. But I think it just shows what a struggle he was still having. So we wrote this song called Whiskey on the Ground. Sitting here half drunk, and my guns are numb. Stew up the vices I had. Between the cocaine and whiskey, they're both half in me. Strangers asleep on the bed. The sunshine cuts through the window, and I reach for my pack of smoke. If you live the hell that I've been through, maybe you try to hide from it too. And I'm chasing demons one shot at a time. When I'm home sober, they live in my mind, taking me places I don't want to be, showing me things that I don't need to see. The next time I'm sober, I'll be 6 foot down, but even then, still won't be over. Pour some whiskey on the ground. When I came home, they said I needed help. The pills and this alcohol don't mix too well. So I kicked the people who love me away. No hesitation to self-medicate. Well, your PhD, man, dad don't give a damn. You held a rifle out there next to me, and I'm chasing demons one shot at a time. When I'm stone sober, they live in my mind, taking me places I don't wanna be, showing me things that I don't need to see. Next time I'm sober, I'll be 6 foot down, but even then, still won't be over. Pour some whiskey on the ground. Whiskey on the ground. And I'm chasing demons one shot at a time. 'Cause when I'm stone sober, they live in my mind, taking me places I don't wanna be, showing me things that I don't need to see. And next time I'm sober, I'll be 6 foot down. But even then, still won't be over. Pour some whiskey on the ground. Whiskey on the ground. Pour some whiskey on the ground.
Wow.
Went out of tune a little bit there. So that's after you change strings, they kind of go in and out until you stretch them out. So don't pay attention to the guitar playing. And even if you do, I only play with 3 fingers because I got the end of this one cut off. So top that.
You're amazing.
I believe in trying to be the epitome of what adapt and overcome is. You know, they told me I'd never walk again. Well, I walked to prove you just can't tell a Marine anything. And they told me I'd never play guitar again, or if I did, I'd have to learn to play, you know, left-handed. I just sat down, and my road manager and band leader of 10 years sat down with me, and he's a great guitar player, and we just kind of worked through, you know, finding different ways to make chords sound the same as the other way. I play a little bit different. Like when I do C's, I pick up everything with my pinky that I would normally have to pick up with this finger. So I pick everything up with this pinky, and it just it worked. Adapt and overcome. And so they jokingly tell all the new guitar players when they get in our band, if you get lost, don't look at Steven's fingers because you're going to get way more lost than you were before we started. They call them Steven chords.
We're talking with Stephen Cochran. He's in the state promoting the Connecticut project, promoting the Fisher House and Soldiers Angels. He'll be appearing in the area. You did appear in one venue this week, and
yes.
will be appearing again
and this is one of my favorite. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite areas or places to perform when we're here. Mike's Blue Collar Bar has just been great to us, and I don't want to say it's a home away from home because that makes it sound like I might have a drinking problem. But we are sponsored by a vodka company, so who knows?
Before Little Rick joined us here and we were able to perform, we were talking about your injury in Afghanistan, and we're told that you would never walk again.
Right.
Spent 9 months in a wheelchair, and then there was a procedure in the Nashville Veterans Hospital, and I hope I pronounced it right.
Kyphoplasty.
Kyphoplasty.
Yeah.
Tell us, first of all, how you felt when you were approached about having the procedure. Because I guess they did say it was an experiment.
It is experimental, and it wasn't so much that they approached us. My mother is a little bulldog, and you know, all 5 foot of her, and so she was not willing to sit back and let them just keep pushing medication down my throat. And you know, their whole goal was they were going to fuse my back, put me in a wheelchair, and that was it. That was the end of it. There was no discussions over it. Ma'am, this is what's going to happen. You know, basically give her an order. Between her and my first sergeant back at battalion, they called every day and said, there's got to be something. He doesn't have a spinal injury. There's got to be something. And again, one of those little miracles, my mom at the time, she's quit, said, don't smoke cigarettes, people. This is just a part of the story. It's bad for you. But she went outside to smoke a cigarette, and one of the nurses was out there, and they were smoking cigarettes and talking about my injury. And the nurse had just came from working at the VA sector in research and development. And she said, it just doesn't make sense. They have something in the VA called a kyphoplasty that could fix his lumbars if that's all that's broken. Why wouldn't they do that? This is when we found out that the VA and the DOD don't work together. They keep, even if they're working on the same project, they don't even share their findings with each other. So us as taxpayers may be paying for the same research to be done in 2 different areas and them not share the information with each other.
Kidding.
No, that's what I thought. You're kidding. That's the same thing I said. But no, it's the truth. And so technically, if you're part of the DOD, you can't be in the Veterans Affairs. You're not a veteran yet. You're still active duty. I didn't know any of this either. I thought if you're out for the best interest of a military man or woman, give them everything we have. If it's there.
You're not considered a veteran.
You're not considered you're still serving. You're still active serving.
Even though you're hospitalized.
So you don't get into the VA system. You can't get into the VA system yet. And so after, I think, a few months of between my mom and my first sergeant calling, and I would see colonels at Bethesda, Maryland just go, I don't want to talk to him today. Because it was, our captains, he was that ferocious at getting to make sure that we got this treatment once we found it. And so finally they came in one day and said, fine, DOD's going to sign off on it. And they had been using this surgery on elderly people for degenerative discs. And it's exactly the same way I'd broken my back. It took chunks out of my lumbars, basically. So they were sitting like this, and then they fell forward and was pulling on my spine. That's the reason I couldn't feel any sensations in my leg. And so what they do is they take the angioplasty balloon that they use on heart attack patients, that they open up your arteries with, and they slide it in between the lumbars and then blow it up. And it puts the lumbar back in place. The second tube shoots a cement epoxy in the back. So I only had an incision that big that they went in and did all of the lumbars with those 2 tubes. And it was 4 days after the surgery that I had the first sensations in my legs that I had in 9 months. Wow. And that was our whole thing. People said, it was experimental, it was experimental. Well, what was my options? I mean, at that point, you try anything you can to get some relief or at least walk again. And so we were just one of those ones that's been very blessed that something experimental did work, and hopefully it's still out there helping other veterans.
Do they still do the procedure now to those that qualify?
Right. They've gotten way more advanced since then. It's been 10 years since I've had my surgery. And so, the one thing that we do notice during wartime, sadly, is that we do excel greatly in the medical fields because we have younger patients who heal quicker. And we can try some of these things that, you couldn't try on an elderly person because their heart might not, go through the 8-hour surgery, the 16-hour surgery. So you get to learn a lot. And, one of the new frontiers that I hope we're learning more about is about the TBIs, the traumatic brain injuries, because those are some of the hardest ones to visit. You get in there and you see this picture of this warrior, this stud, this thing that's on the closest thing to a Superman on our earth, and then you look in the hospital bed and that's not what is there because it's, the damage to the brain has been so severe. The good thing about TBIs is we don't know enough about the brain. The bad thing about TBIs is we don't know enough about the brain. And so I'm really hoping that we can make some ground up in that area.
How are you feeling today as far as leg movement? Do you have to go back for like a yearly checkup? Or?
Well, I don't take any medication. I haven't done that in 3 years. And I was one that was, even after my surgery, I still live at about a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. And my 5 may be a little distorted. My doctor always says they have to check on me every now and then to make sure that I'm not in pain because I won't say anything. And so you live there, but again, I'm walking. And I'm not hooked on pain medication. I could technically have Dilaudid and morphine filled right now because I'm still prescribed them. But at the end of the day, there's alternative medicines out there like, Pilates and acupuncture and things like the stretching is great.
I was going to mention yoga.
Yoga's amazing. Yoga's amazing. We as a society have gotten to the point where I need a pill to fix everything. But way before pills, people were still breaking their backs and living. I think that's one of the bigger unspoken epidemics that we have right now is that I need a pill. I need a pill for this. I need a pill for that. And then we wonder.
It's like an instant gratification.
It is. It's like we wonder why. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to me in the therapy was I got to a certain point and I thought, well, they told me I'm never going to walk again. I'm on a walker. This is as good as it's going to get. I might as well stop this stupid therapy stuff now. And I had some great therapists who really knew how to manipulate me mentally. And they'd come in and say, listen, if this is as good as you want to get, then we'll quit right now. And then they would go to walk out of the room and they'd say, what's that Army sergeant that we're working with? He's already walking again, and he had a way worse injury than Sergeant Cochran did. And here I am crawling across the floor trying to get to the treadmill to do some extra work because I'm not going to let anybody beat me. And so, it really is. It's what you set your mind to, you can achieve. Yep. And if I'm not an example of that, I don't know who is. Because that's one thing that I am blessed for is my faith, and the mental strength that I had to say, I'm going to do this and we're going to make it.
I have to ask, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, Bradley Cooper's role in American Sniper. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I don't watch a lot of military movies now. You know, obviously I saw Full Metal Jacket before I went in the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
Since I've been home, I don't think I've not seen one military movie since I've been home.
And is there a reason? You don't
I've
consider it entertaining?
I've been to the real thing.
No.
I don't want to go back again. And you know, it's not entertaining. You know, that I say the same thing for country artists who all, you know, at some point country music is one of the you know the greatest supporters of veterans. But at some point it seems like every artist has to validate themselves among the veteran. We always call it, you can tell when their career's going well because they'll come out with a military song or they'll have a video that has something to do with military, and it's like, okay, well, they're trying to validate, because there's 27 million veterans. If you get a piece of that, that's a lot of money, and they're looking at that.
You participated in the Armed Forces entertainment tours of the Middle East. Now, what was it like performing for the troops after not too long ago being actually where they were?
You know, and it was a good probably 6 years since I'd been out, but it was the first time I'd been back over to the Middle East, and this time I'm coming back with a guitar. And so I remember the first thought being, man, they look really young. Dude, I look that young. Like, I wanted to just grab them all and put them on our plane and be like, go home, I'll do this for you. But they looked really young, and but yet recognizable. And because the troop that we played for in Kuwait were leaving the line of departure the next day to go into Iraq. And this was New Year's Eve that we played for them. We went out and spent Christmas with them and New Year's Eve. And so I'm sitting here thinking, and the weight of it, you know, the staff sergeant comes in and talks to the band and I, and he said, Stephen, you know, we picked you to come out here for a reason, and I don't mean to bring, you know, the mood down, but this may be the last music from home some of these boys ever hear. And you just sit there with that weight, because, you know, everything gets heavy in the room at that point. You're thinking, that's the truth. You know, they're going across the line of departure the next day. The numbers and the statistics say some of them aren't coming back. And so we get to give them their last taste of home. And that's hard.
Wow. You know, I'm reminded of a scene. Good Morning Vietnam.
Yes.
Did you see that?
I did see that.
You know the scene I'm thinking of, where Robin Williams is entertaining the troops.
Yep.
And he's doing stand-up for them, and as they're driving off,
I remember that.
the look on his face, Robin Williams, realizing that some
I
of
think
these
that
young
was
men,
even that scene flashed in my head when we were doing it.
Really?
It was, and we, you know, we stayed there as long as we could with them that night. I mean, basically they were being forced to get back to their hooches because they had to deploy out or to leave out the next morning, and it's like they didn't want to leave me and I didn't want to leave them.
Oh wow!
And
I can't imagine. I know the motion picture was. I mean, I cried during that scene.
Yeah.
Just the look on his face when he realized, you know, he's
Right.
not just doing stand up for a 9 to 5 audience here.
no,
He's
it's
entertaining
pretty heavy,
troops.
man. It's something that you know, I didn't expect on that trip. There was a lot of unexpected things that happened, and you know, one of them was I didn't know how I would handle being there without a weapon. You know,
Really?
a guitar is all I had, and I'm not used to being in that region of the world without my destiny being at the end of my fingertips, and so it was different to try to, you know, we actually were staying out in town in Bahrain, like in the town of Bahrain while we were there too. So they had black flag situations, areas that you're not allowed to go into if you're an American, and it was kind of mind blowing. And by the end of the tour, I wasn't handling it too well. At that point, I hadn't been into any kind of therapy for post-traumatic stress or anything. So I was starting to have little mini breakdowns, and I just needed to get back to the United States. I wasn't doing well, but
Would you go back again? If
oh,
they
in a
had
heartbeat,
asked you to go?
heartbeat,
You would.
in a heartbeat. And I think that, you know, anybody who has served would answer it the same way. You know, and even knowing that I was going to get injured again, and I'd have to go through everything that I've been through, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Good for you. Good for you.
This
Again,
country's amazing, so why wouldn't you?
You're amazing.
No.
We're speaking with Stephen Cochran. You've done so much work for veterans' causes, including being the spokesman for VA Research and Development and composing their theme song, Hope. What is your message to them?
Well, that was the whole title that we wanted to put in there was giving them hope. Like I said, I had several when I went on to be the national spokesman for Veterans Research and Development. I had a list of things that I wanted to accomplish while I was the spokesman. One of them was getting the D dropped from the formulary, post-traumatic stress. It's not a disorder. When you're treating veterans, you have to use terms that veterans understand. When you tell a veteran that he has a disorder or that he's damaged gear, you might as well already start digging his grave. You've just used, when you think, I don't know what I'm capable of, because you say that you don't know what I'm capable of, and I have a disorder, and I might hurt my family. You have to understand, these men and women who are enlisting in the military, they enlisted to go fight for people they've never met before. So in their brain, if they think they could possibly hurt someone that's not the enemy of the United States or our families, they would rather take themselves out of the equation. And I see that time and time again. You know what? If I've got this horrible disorder and I could flip out and kill my wife, I might as well just kill myself so that never happens. And that's what, you don't hear veterans going and shooting places up. You hear veterans killing themselves. I wanted to deal with, at the time I had a fiance and I couldn't get into therapy with her because she wasn't my family. Well, how do you expect me to get married if I can't have her understand what I'm going through? And so we wanted to change that, and all that I think we accomplished. But by the time we left, the D is not added until after 10 years that you've been dealing with it. Then it's a disorder. It's not. You're not really finding any cures, any cure for you, because everybody heals differently with it. And now they've even reshaped what a family is. Your friends can go to therapy with you now. So it was all about changing the way that people look at the veteran, and even the VA. And so another one of great accomplishments was, remember how I told you earlier, the DoD and the VA doesn't sit down or they don't work together. My last year as the national spokesperson, the name of Research and Development Week for that week was Collaboration. It was the first time a VA doctor and a DoD doctor sat at the same table, and they walked out a man with a prosthetic on, and they showed a video where his prosthetic arm was in California and he was in New York, but he has electrodes in his brain. So when they put the prosthetic on him, if he thinks to pick up that cup, just like I would with my hand, it picks the cup up. And so
Really?
They had him think to move his fingers in California from New York, and it moved with just him thinking it. He moved his hand.
Wow.
And so they said at the time, we want you to think of this as the cell phone 20 years ago. Now think what we can do in 10 years together. It only took, how long has the United States been a country for them to sit down and start working?
Well, we're approaching our 239th birthday in a couple of days.
239 years that it's taken in the DOD and the VA to get together over some kid from Kentucky. So
a lot of times you'll hear now, and it's good to hear. You'll see a veteran, and they'll always say, "Thank you for your service," and it was not always like that years and years ago. I'm thinking specifically of the Vietnam War, but now when you hear, "Thank a veteran, thank you for your service," is the general public, are we making strides in thanking you enough for what you've gone through? What you've done for your country, our country.
Anytime that someone says, hey, thank you for what you've done, I think I like that. I think, it shows me that our country has learned a lot since Vietnam. Whether you support the war or you don't, you understand that these are this men and women's job. They've taken an oath to do this. And if you don't do what you're told or ordered to do, you can spend your life in prison. So I think we've learned that it's not the warrior's fault for what the government, hands him orders to do. But I really wish people would also extend a hand out to those Vietnam veterans and say, welcome home, because they never got that. Yeah. And us as veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan, I employ all the veterans out there of Iraq and Afghanistan. If you know a Vietnam veteran, say welcome home, welcome them home. We got a great welcome homes. But they didn't. And I don't even know how I would feel about fighting for a country who doesn't care. Oh, wait, yeah, I do. 22 veterans are committing suicide a day, and I don't hear it on the news at all. So did we learn, or did we just learn how to be polite?
I've seen a couple, actually within the last week, I've seen on various social media pages asking people that are you know, this being the 4th of July, they're blowing fireworks off all the place and saying, please, if you happen to be living next to a veteran, or if a veteran lives down the street, to maybe either A, not do it, or B, go to the veteran and say, hey, we're going to be doing this, because that could bring back some terrible memories. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, they actually make signs that you can go, if you're a veteran, they make a sign that you can put in your yard that says, combat veteran lives here, please be, you know, courteous with your fireworks. And look, I don't think that there's anybody who served this country that wants to take away anybody's fun. We enjoy 4th of July. All the guys that I knew that died in combat, they liked a good cold beer. They like to look at pretty girls. They like to go out and have a great time on July 4th with their families. They would be irate if they thought that because of something that we're dealing with, people have to change the way they celebrate the 4th of July and our independence. And so I think just getting with the veteran, let them know, hey, from these hours to these hours, we're probably going to be shooting off fireworks. That way they're ready for it. I think you really have to talk about what a flashback is. I don't think I've met anyone who has had a flashback so vividly that they didn't know where they were at or that they were in Iraq or Afghanistan. It's more of a trigger. It's a smell. It's a noise. Mostly smells for me. Dirty diesel, like dirty unfiltered like diesel gas, like airplanes use. We call it JP8 in the military. I smell that, and you know, it'll make me remember something. And that's really what a flashback is to me, and what I've seen other veterans have. And fireworks can do that. They're a trigger. And I didn't understand that until I came home and I was driving down a back alley in Knoxville probably 7 years ago. And these kids were playing with bottle rockets. And I did it as a kid too. You had bottle rocket wars, and 2 bottle rockets went across the top of my car. And we had a similar incident like that happen with RPGs in Afghanistan or Iraq. And I just remember it being there for a second. I needed to just pull over and kind of collect myself. And I may have been sweating a little bit. So yeah, I would say if you could just get with the veteran in your neighborhood and try to set up you know, from these hours to these hours, we're going to be shooting fireworks off. And I think that would probably be the best way to handle that. At least that's the way I would handle it.
All right. As a song composer, what's more difficult, composing melody or lyrics?
For me, melody, because I do only have 3 fingers. There's only so many chords you can play with that, and it makes it really easy on my guitar players. They know it's going to be a G, C, A, D song. But it's to me, it's the melody. I think that I always wonder, and it's always kind of like, it surprises me when I come up with a different melody, because at some points I think, oh, well, I've used the capo pretty much all I can use it, and I've used all the chords that I know in this song or that I can play, and then it just happens. You know, like there's a song on my album called Pretend, and I think that song to me was the weirdest song I've ever written because I didn't write it, I dreamed it. Every word, every chord, just as it is recorded on the album.
You woke up and just put pen to paper?
I woke up and played it. I was laying on our bus and we were headed somewhere, and at the time our manager was back in the kitchen area on his computer. And I had my guitar sitting leaned up against the couch and I was sleeping. And I dreamed I wrote this song. My buddy had given me the hook a couple weeks earlier. I was getting over the fiance. And he said, man, look, you're out on the road doing this VA stuff. You've got to snap out of this. I said, I just can't get over it. And he said, well, you got to pretend that you did. And I thought, well, I could probably write that song. And so I went to sleep on the bus and I woke up and I just picked my guitar up, capoed down, and played the song. And I got done, I started reaching for paper, and I wrote down all the words. And my manager looked up and he said, hey man, that's a cool song, who plays that? I said, I just wrote it. And he said, that's how it happens? I said, well, this time, like, does it have like that? Like I said, there's some songs you write for years, and then there's some songs that are just there. Wow. And those are the ones that you're really thankful for.
That's a talent. What's the best advice you ever received about the music business? And what advice, musically speaking, would you give to someone who wants to be the next Stephen Cochran?
Oh, if you're trying to be me, run. Don't do it. Run away. Actually, seek help if you're trying to be. No, I'm kidding. Seek professional therapy. This is a dog-eat-dog business. It is. I have been in many businesses, restaurant business, the military. I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's the only business where I've ever seen somebody tell you you're the greatest to your face, and then literally turn around and tell somebody you're garbage.
Really?
It's a dog-eat-dog business, and so you have to have thick skin when you come to Nashville. And be prepared to understand that everything that you're doing there is a business. So even though you have a day job, you might be waiting tables, you might be bartending, don't get swept up in the nightlife. Don't get caught in a career, because Nashville's on an economic upswing. So there's plenty of jobs. So you get down there and you find something, you're like, hey, I like this. And then people get caught in a career and now they're not in the music business anymore. Or they come down there and they get caught up in the nightlife and they're partying every night. Because you have to be out every night rubbing elbows because you never know who you're going to meet. Mm-hmm. So you're down there doing that, and then all of a sudden now you got a drinking problem or you're partying too much and you've ruined your name in the town because you're a party girl or a party guy and you're on the first bus out of Nashville. Know that while you're in that town, there are eyes everywhere and ears everywhere. It is a business. Treat it as such. And as far as being me, you know, I have always just tried to be myself, whether it, I looked like myself or not. But I tried to do it with the music. If a record label was telling me to wear my hair this way or to cut this or to wear this, I did it because that was my job. But I never let it affect the music. The music was always from me. Be true to yourself. Toby Keith said one of the coolest things ever. He said, I didn't hit my stride till I started dressing myself out of my own closet.
Really?
And you can kind of take that for what it was. I take it as be yourself and people will acknowledge it.
Just came into my head. What do you think of YouTube? How's YouTube?
I love it. I love it. YouTube offers those artists who may not get a traditional record deal, and it's keeping the record labels honest in Nashville. Now they see, you know what, I don't need your big record deal. I can go make $1 million off YouTube. And so I think it's great. I think anything that's allowing the arts to get to more people and for people to be able to share their art, it's amazing. And I think we're just on the frontier of it. Radio's going to have to change. Everything's going to have to change.
This has been an amazing hour. We didn't even talk about how your Tennessee Titans are going to win the Super Bowl this year, huh?
Well, we got the Heisman Award winner down there now. We got Mariota as our quarterback.
Yes,
so
that's right. So we'll see. Well,
hopefully we'll have a healthy quarterback because we haven't had one of those in about 6 years.
Once again, he's appearing in the area at. Want to give it a plug one more time?
Mike's Blue Collar Bar, and please go to soldiersangels.org, FisherHouseConnecticut.org, and concertswithcauses.org.
Excellent. And thanks to both Lisa and Tina for bringing this amazing talent
Lisa
to
and Tina
to
and
our
Danielle,
area.
they've been great. They've helped really put these 2 trips up here together, and we're looking at coming back in October with the full band again. So hopefully we'll see you then.
Will you come to this?
I would love to, and I can bring them all in here, and you can meet the heathens.
All right. Bring some extra strings.
I will bring some. Well, here's the thing. When I bring them, we have extra guitars too. So we have one of those sitting over there for when that happens. I know we have, but that happened to me on Fox and Friends. Strings broke. They change it, they hand it back to me, nobody had tuned it, and boom, we go live on Fox and Friends, and I'm sitting there and I go, and I just stopped my guitar and I went, tune in tonight for more at Fox and Friends Live. And then somebody got fired. I'm just kidding.
Well, Stephen, this has been awesome. Thank you
so much, Ed.
And maybe we'll see you this fall.
I hope so. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
That I ain't done. Yeah, but it can't be, y'all. Yeah, this much fun. Are we having fun? Hell yeah! Friday night, long way. I was gonna tell you, drink more Heroes vodka if you're not, because it sounds way better when you do. Friday night.